Oh my god, I feel so much worse.
Don't worry, I locked the door.
A sidekick named Kid Danger breaks into Evil Science Corp to steal a reality-altering device, also called a RAD. Despite the efforts of the guards to stop Kid Danger from leaving with the device, he manages to escape and lock the door at the entrance. After this, the sidekick takes off his mask, and it turns out that the person wearing the costume is a girl named Missy, who is a superfan. Shortly after, Missy arrives home with the RAD and starts working on using the device to bring Kid Danger back from the dead. A few years earlier, in a town called Swellview, a boy named Henry Hart became a sidekick to a superhero named Captain Man at a young age. Even though it seemed like a lot of responsibility for a child, Henry and Captain Man kept their identity hidden and fought crime around Swellview while also working with a genius named Schwoz. After a while, Henry's friends, Jasper and Charlotte, joined the team, and Henry's sister, Piper, also became aware of her brother's secret life as Kid Danger. Despite being quite successful as Kid Danger, Henry felt tired of being a sidekick, and he started thinking about the possibility of leaving Swellview. Luckily, Henry gets hit by a radioactive cannon that makes him capable of generating a force field to protect himself. This ends up being quite useful as Henry prepares to sacrifice himself to save Swellview from a bomb explosion. With his protective force field, Henry is able to survive the bomb blast, but he uses this opportunity to fake his death. Everyone in Swellview falls for this, and Henry moves to a city called Dystopia, where he fights crime with Jasper, who has also developed a unique skill to be able to fight in his sleep and speak Spanish. In Dystopia, a detective named Jones seems worried that Henry isn't around yet to take down a criminal who is expected to strike in a few minutes. Jasper is already at the scene, and he assures Jones that Henry will be there shortly. Interestingly, it turns out that Henry is actually at the headquarters of a company named Bizwatch to sign a deal as an ambassador.
Now is just not a good time, okay?
Meanwhile, Jasper tells Jones that there's nothing to worry about because he can also take down the criminal with his unique sleep fighting skills. Jones just smiles at him, but before he can say anything else, he gets startled by Schwoz and Piper, who have come to Dystopia for the holidays. Jasper looks shocked to see them, and he doesn't seem to understand why they came to Dystopia. Piper and Schwoz get the feeling that Jasper doesn't want them around, and they ask why he's being weird, even though he was acting nice toward Jones. Jasper says he was flirting with Jones, but Piper and Schwoz don't think he was doing that. Piper also tries to help Jasper talk to Jones, but he quickly drags her and Schwoz away.
Why does it want to destroy the fuel rods?
Piper then asks if Jasper and Henry are currently on a mission, and Schwoz says he heard that they're the hottest crime fighters in Dystopia. As Piper implies that Henry is the boss, Jasper says they're a team. He adds that Henry is currently signing a deal for both of them at Bizwatch. Piper doesn't understand why Jasper didn't go there to sign his own deal, but he implies that he didn't just want to go, and it's not like the people at Bizwatch only wanted to see Henry. Just then, Piper and Schwoz suggest going to get Henry so they can head to the theater to see a show. Jasper realizes that they're in Dystopia to have fun, and he mentions that now is not the time for that. He adds that someone named Blackout is about to attack a truck carrying plutonium-239. Piper and Schwoz look surprised and ask why Blackout would want to steal the plutonium. Jasper then explains that Dystopia is powered by plutonium, and Blackout plans to steal it so he can keep the entire city in darkness. Back at the Bizwatch office, the lights in the building suddenly go off just as Henry is about to sign the deal. He suspects that something is wrong, and as the lights also go off around the city, Jasper stays alert. Schwoz also removes a surveillance camera from the wall and connects it to his own camera. With this, he's able to make a scanner, which he uses to confirm that the truck carrying the plutonium is already nearby. Jasper then puts on his eye mask and decides to take on Blackout by himself. himself. As Blackout gets to the scene, he knocks down the men inside the truck, but Jasper eventually stops him. During their fight, Jasper manages to knock down Blackout, and everyone looks impressed. However, just as Henry flies to the scene, Jasper gets distracted, and Blackout quickly attacks him. When Henry lands on the ground, Blackout shows up to confront him. Henry easily gets the upper hand and throws Blackout into a nearby store. Everyone looks impressed, and as Henry sees Piper and Schwoz, he welcomes them to Dystopia. He also apologizes for running late and explains that he was in a meeting.
Our ad.
Just then, he checks up on Jasper, who has recovered after Blackout knocked him down earlier. Following this, they both head out to finish off Blackout. When they get to the front of the store, Blackout quickly knocks Henry to the ground and says that Henry's fame has weakened him. Henry then takes off his jacket and creates a force field around himself just as Blackout tries to punch him. Blackout's hand gets trapped in the force field, and Henry hits him hard and launches him into the Bizwatch office. As everyone praises Henry for taking down the criminal, he jokes that he's pretty sure Blackout is dead. Piper says he has only just launched the criminal into the tall building, but Henry implies that he has done enough. Jasper then asks about the Bizwatch deal and if Henry got him one of the company's watches. Henry says he couldn't do that because he quickly left the building to help with fighting Blackout. Jasper doesn't seem to have a problem with this because Henry can also get him one later. He then asks about their ad and if Henry thinks it was cool. Henry doesn't initially know what to say, but just as he mentions that it looked good, a Bizwatch bus parks right behind him. Jasper sees the ad and realizes that he was blurred out in the background. Jasper doesn't like this, and he asks if Henry saw it and didn't say anything to the people at Bizwatch. Henry doesn't really have an excuse, and before Jasper says anything else, Jones comes over to ask if she can get a picture. Jasper says she can, and she gives him her phone so he can take a picture of her and Henry. Jasper looks disappointed, and Schwoz and Piper also feel sorry for him. After Jasper takes the picture and returns Jones's phone to her, he seems quite pissed, and Henry notices this. Jasper then complains that he's tired of doing half the work, while Henry gets credit for everything. Henry jokingly asks if he wants a gold star, and Jasper says he's tired of everyone thinking he's working for Henry. Henry says he has more experience, and Jasper realizes that his friend is not even taking the matter seriously.
I'm sorry, what?
As he says they'll meet at home, Henry points out that he has gotten himself a new place. Jasper looks confused and asks if they're still even a team. Henry just evades the question and mentions that Jasper can always come over to visit him. Jasper doesn't like this response because it's not a confirmation that they're still a team. As he then walks away angrily, Schwoz follows him, and Piper seems disappointed in Henry for what he just did. After this, Henry heads back to the Bizwatch building and notices that the boardroom is now scattered. This leaves him confused, but he soon realizes that Blackout is still there. Suddenly, Blackout says he has some advice for Henry. As Henry asks what it is, Blackout says he shouldn't work alone. Almost immediately, Blackout throws him out of the tall building.
I'd like that, thank you.
Coincidentally, Missy has connected the RAD to her computer, and it has caused light sparks in her room. It also moves the pages of Missy's storybook, and just before Henry falls to the ground, he gets sucked into a portal. The next morning, Missy wakes Henry up while he's in a Kid Danger costume. When Henry wakes up, he looks confused and wonders if he's in the afterlife. Missy says she just brought him back from the dead, but he doesn't understand this. Almost immediately, Missy's younger sister, Gemma, enters the room to ask Missy what's causing the noise. Henry then sees Gemma and begs her to help him because he doesn't know where he is. However, Missy just pushes him back and tells Gemma to leave her room. Gemma asks why Kid Danger is in Missy's room, but Missy just ignores the question and forces her sister to leave. After Gemma leaves, Henry realizes that Missy is a Kid Danger superfan who has his face on most of the things in her room. He then asks how he got to Newtown, and Missy says she used the RAD to bring him back from the dead. Henry says he wasn't dead, and he explains how he faked his death. Missy looks shocked when she hears this, and she scolds him for doing that. As Henry says he's now in Dystopia, Missy asks if Jasper and Charlotte are also there with him. Henry looks shocked and asks how she knows who his friends are. Missy then mentions that she did some research and figured out his secret identity. Henry seems impressed, but he asks why she brought him to Newtown. Missy says things are now really bad in Newtown, and that she and Gemma cannot even go to school without being robbed. She adds that she brought Henry to Newtown so they can work together to fight crime. Henry doesn't seem interested, and he tells her to send him back to Dystopia. He adds that she shouldn't have used the RAD to pull him out of his world. Missy looks disappointed, but she agrees to send him back. Almost immediately, they hear someone asking for help because a coach named Craig is about to steal her purse. Missy looks shocked because Craig is a character from one of the stories she wrote about Kid Danger. As she wonders how he became real, she begs Henry to help the woman. Henry says he's not interested, but Missy convinces him with an old quote he used once as Kid Danger. After Henry agrees, Missy offers to help, but he tells her to stay back because she has no superpowers or unique skills. Missy says she actually beat up a lot of guards to steal the RAD, but Henry mentions that he works alone. He adds that he doesn't think Craig will give him a lot of problems. Unfortunately, Craig happens to be quite strong, and he beats up Henry, who realizes that he no longer has superpowers.
She's supposed to be visiting me in Dystopia.
As Missy thinks about this, she realizes that her stories must have somehow gotten absorbed into the RAD. She says Henry doesn't have powers in her stories because she didn't know he had any. Henry looks disappointed, but Missy asks if she can help. Henry doesn't think she can do much, and Craig forces him to start doing push-ups. As he continues doing this for a while, Missy offers to help again because she's worried that another monster might show up. Henry asks what kind of monster she's talking about, and she says it's an electric vampire. Henry looks shocked by this, and he tells Missy to do whatever she can to help. Just then, Missy hits the RAD on Craig's head, and he goes unconscious immediately. This makes Missy happy, and she talks about the possibility of working with Henry as his partner, but he insists that he wants to go home. As Missy then tries to operate the RAD, an electric vampire who looks just like Piper shows up and spins around her. Henry looks shocked and asks why his sister is a vampire. Missy seems more concerned about leaving the scene, and as she gets the RAD to work, they both disappear.
Oh my god, I feel so much worse.
However, it turns out that Vampiper stole a red chip from the RAD while she was spinning around Missy. Meanwhile, Henry and Missy suddenly find themselves at a popular bar in Swellview, owned by a man named Franchini. Henry doesn't understand this, and he also asks why Piper looked like a vampire. Missy says she wrote the story out of anger after Piper kicked her out of a Kid Danger fan group. Almost immediately, Henry spots Piper at the club and wonders what his sister is doing in Swellview. As he says he left her in Dystopia, Missy looks worried and checks up on the RAD. Henry asks what's wrong, but she doesn't say anything. He then drags the RAD away from her and sees that it's displaying a message saying story mode locked. Henry asks what this means, but Missy says she has no idea. Henry cannot believe this, but Missy eventually mentions that she thinks something happened during their fight with Craig because they're now stuck in her stories.
What kind of device?
Henry looks disappointed because that means they're not even in a real club, and Missy confirms this. She also tells Henry not to be too worried because the current story is a nice one, which she wrote after feeling bad for being better than Gemma at nearly everything. She adds that in the current story, she made Henry a sidekick to another hero. As he asks who it is, a hero named Captain Stash walks into the club, and everyone looks excited. Interestingly, Stash looks like Jasper, and even though Missy looks pleased, Henry doesn't like this. Just as Stash shows off his powers by flying around the club, Henry looks stressed and wonders why Missy didn't give him any powers in her stories. Almost immediately, Piper bumps into them and notices that Henry is stressed. Henry denies this, but Piper doesn't believe him. She then tells Franchini to send some things to the private lounge for her brother. Henry feels much better after eating a few tacos, but as Stash sits next to him, he looks sad and asks why Missy brought them to a universe where his best friend is a hero.
There should be another can in your tights.
Stash and Piper don't understand this, but Missy explains what happened with the RAD and how they're currently in her stories. Piper and Stash cannot believe this, but Henry suddenly comes up with an idea and suggests finding Schwoz because there could be a variant of him in Missy's story. After a while, Henry finds Schwoz working in the kitchen as a dishwasher. Schwoz doesn't know who Henry is, and he says he doesn't want to be disturbed while he's at work. Despite this, Henry doesn't go away, and he realizes that Schwoz is still a genius in Missy's story. Henry then tells Schwoz to help him take a look at the RAD, and he agrees to do this.
Wait, how do you know her name?
Just as he opens up the RAD, they all hear Craig blowing his whistle loudly. Missy looks bothered about this, and she says she forgot that Craig is in the current story. As Stash goes to confront the criminal, Missy tells Henry to help out because he's the sidekick. Henry doesn't seem interested in doing this, but Missy convinces him to change into his costume by chugging a can of celery soda. After Henry does this, he looks annoyed when he sees his costume, but Missy defends herself by saying that rich children used to dress like that in the past. She also gives Henry a lolly smacker, which he can use against Craig. After this, Henry heads out and smacks Craig's face with the lolly smacker. Unfortunately, this doesn't hurt Craig, and it only makes him mad at Henry, who cannot believe that Missy really made him useless. Just then, Craig beats up Henry, but Stash eventually comes to the rescue and overpowers the coach.
Don't worry, I locked the door.
Henry looks disappointed because he couldn't do much, but Missy still praises his efforts. Shortly after, while Henry is sitting in the kitchen alone, Missy sees him and gives him a gold star candy. Henry asks what it's for, and Missy says that in this story, she was always giving him gold stars to appreciate his efforts because he was having a hard time living in Stash's shadows. Henry finds this funny and says that he's currently facing a similar situation in Dystopia because Jasper is always living in his shadow. Missy asks if anyone gives Jasper gold stars, but Henry says no one does. Almost immediately, Schwoz calls them to provide an update on the RAD. He says they're now stuck in Missy's stories and can only jump from one to another. As he asks if they saw a chip connected to the RAD, Franchini enters the kitchen and says it's time for his performance. Henry doesn't care about this, and Franchini seems pissed.
Oh, you guys are good friends.
As Henry, Missy, and Franchini fight over the RAD, one of them accidentally hits a button that sends them to another story. Interestingly, they're now back in Newtown, and Henry wonders why Franchini is with them. Missy then says it's because he touched the RAD. Henry seems more concerned about going back to meet Schwoz, and Franchini says he also wants to head back for his performance. However, Missy stops them from hitting the button again because she doesn't want them to end up in one of her dangerous stories. Franchini then considers taking a walk to clear his head, but he says he wants the RAD fixed before he returns. As Henry asks Missy what they'll do next, she says they have something else to worry about. Suddenly, Henry sees Vampiper and Craig walking toward them. Henry looks shocked to see Craig again, and Missy says he's in almost all her stories. She adds that in the current story, Vampiper will go into her house to kidnap Gemma. Interestingly, Vampiper is now wearing a necklace with the red chip on it. Henry believes he can talk to her gently to let them go, but Vampiper doesn't seem open to this. Almost immediately, Franchini sees Vampiper and admires her dress. Henry and Missy quickly run to hide inside a nearby van.
Hey, your stories aren't stupid.
And they watch as Vampiper turns Franchini into a vampire. This leaves them scared because if Vampiper turns them into vampires, they'll probably forget about their quest and never return home. Before they can think of what to do next, Craig removes the van door and drags them outside. Vampiper then asks about the RAD and what it can do. Even though Henry is about to lie about the RAD's function, Missy says it can take them to different worlds. Vampiper looks amazed and says it's more worlds for her to conquer. As she's about to snatch it from Missy, Henry hits the button and they end up in a different story. Henry asks where they are, but Missy says she doesn't know yet. Almost immediately, a heavy object almost lands on Henry's head, but Jasper shows up to protect him. He then tells them to come with him because a group of Canadian dwarves called Mounties are about to attack. With this, Missy remembers the story and says it's set in the aftermath of a nuclear war that has scorched the planet.
Inside inside. Go. I got this.
She adds that Jasper is guarding the last tank of maple syrup in the world so that the Mounties won't get their hands on it. Henry looks confused and wonders why Missy's stories are usually weird. He then suggests giving up the maple syrup so they can just find Schwoz and get the RAD fixed. Missy says they have to wait for someone called the Big Guy to arrive because he's the one who will take the tank to California. After this, Jasper suggests standing up to the Mounties, and Henry supports him. As the Mounties shoot arrows at Henry, Jasper steps in to defend his friend. Missy admires their friendship, but Henry says they're not really friends anymore in Dystopia. Jasper looks confused, but Missy explains how they got to the present story with the RAD. Jasper then asks if there's a good reason why he and Henry aren't friends anymore. Henry says he just got busy, and this leaves Jasper disappointed. As he says they can leave if they want, Henry mentions that he wants to stay and fight the Mounties. Jasper looks pleased, and Henry asks Missy for ideas on how to stop the Mounties. After this, Missy comes up with a plan to trap the Mounties, and this works out quite well. Jasper and Henry seem pleased with the outcome of the plan, and Henry also praises Missy for coming up with a good idea. Much later, the big man arrives and it turns out to be Schwoz. Henry and Missy then get him to look at the RAD. After a brief look, Schwoz says there's a red chip missing in the device. Missy remembers seeing it around Vampiper's neck, and she blames herself for everything that has happened because she knows it will be hard to get the chip back.
You're a good friend.
Henry says it's not her fault, and that she was only doing what she thought was best for her town by using the RAD to bring him there. He adds that they need to head to Newtown with Schwoz to try to get the chip back so they can fix the RAD and return to their respective worlds. Jasper says he'd like to come, and Henry warns him about the risk involved. However, Jasper insists that he'll fight with Henry. Shortly after, they use the RAD to return to Newtown, and they meet Vampiper, Fankini, and Craig standing outside Missy's house. Vampiper has already kidnapped Gemma, and she tells Craig and Fankini to allow Missy to enter the house. She also mentions that they can kill Henry, Jasper, and Schwoz. As she enters the house with Gemma, Craig blows his whistle to destabilize Henry and the others. After he stops, Missy sneaks into the house to find her sister.
I need your help.
Henry looks worried about her, and Jasper tells him to go and help her. Henry then enters the house and sees Missy in the living room. As Vampiper shows up, Missy tries to attack her, but she gets knocked to the ground. Henry immediately tries to snatch the red chip from Vampiper's neck, but she overpowers him and pushes him through the walls inside the house. When they get to another room, Missy suddenly shows up and attacks Vampiper again. Vampiper seems pissed and bites Missy's arm, and Henry looks shocked. Surprisingly, Missy has now snatched the chip from Vampiper, and she gives it to Henry while joking about using a distraction technique to trick the monster. As she slowly turns into a vampire, Henry quickly leaves the room before Vampiper realizes that he's now with the chip. Elsewhere, Schwoz teams up with Jasper to take down Craig and Fankini. Almost immediately, Henry goes outside and tosses the chip to Schwoz before Vampiper can grab him. As Schwoz then fixes the RAD after inserting the chip, Vampiper summons her small vampire army. Jasper and Henry seem ready to fight together, but Schwoz quickly closes the RAD and resets it.
Are you friends with Jasper?
With this, Missy returns to her real world and hugs Gemma. Fankini also becomes normal again, and he returns to the club while Henry falls into a river in Dystopia. After he comes out of the river, he thinks about Jasper and decides to meet up with his best friend. When they meet at a restaurant, Henry gives Jasper a gold star candy and says he's sorry for not realizing that Jasper is his good friend. Jasper asks what's going on, and Henry says he has to leave Dystopia for a while. He adds that he's sure Jasper will be able to handle things perfectly without him. Jasper seems pleased to hear this, and Henry says they still have one thing to do together. Following this, they leave the restaurant and head back to the city center to take down Blackout for good.
What?
Jasper looks happy to have done this with Henry, and Jones also shows up to take a picture with him. She also seems quite happy that she'll be working closely with Jasper, especially now that Henry is about to leave Dystopia. Much later, Missy composes an email to Henry, but before she can send it, two thugs steal her laptop. As they're about to leave, though, Henry shows up and gets back Missy's laptop after beating the thugs. Missy looks excited to see him, and he introduces her to Jasper and Schwoz. Missy seems pleased to meet them, and Jasper tells her to take care of Henry while he's in Newtown. Missy says she will, and Schwoz asks if they're ready to see Henry's new hideout in Newtown. Missy looks excited about this, and Henry flies to the hideout with her, Schwoz, and Jasper. Much later, while Henry and Missy are fighting crime in Newtown, she complains about her schoolwork and upcoming tests. Henry then tells her to find a way to deal with it because she's the one who wanted to be his sidekick.
I'm telling Mom.
Almost immediately, they walk toward a crime scene and see Captain Man shooting down some killer drones. Henry looks surprised to see his old boss, and Captain Man says he needs his former sidekick's help. After Henry and Jasper move to Dystopia, they decide to work together as a crime-fighting team. Jasper soon struggles to step out of Henry's shadow, and he also realizes that Henry doesn't acknowledge him as a partner. Henry doesn't really see the problem with this, but after he gets stuck in Missy's stories, which show him exactly how Jasper feels, he realizes that he has wronged his best friend. Following this, Henry decides to move out of Dystopia so that Jasper can be the city's main hero while he stays in Newtown, where he's actually needed.